So you guys may have heard out there in the chat. Obviously, we've been hearing, because we've been following this, that Michigan was about to give a very appropriate, in my opinion, honorary captainship, given Jim Harbaugh's time as quarterback in the '80s. And then, given his, one of the best quarterbacks, that we've had, and was in the '80s and did a great job, and then of course coached the Michigan football team. He might have been given an honorary captainship, I think, regardless of what's, like, everybody's saying this is an FU to the NCAA, but I actually think there's merit to the idea that he might have been named regardless, like even if there was nothing going on with the NCAA and the show cause. But he has chosen not to accept the honorary captainship himself. His parents are going to be there, and because Harbaugh is going to focus on getting the Chargers ready for the NFL season. So TJ, I guess two things. Thoughts on what did you think when this was originally announced, and then this news today?
Man, when it was initially announced, I was amped up. I was like, hell yeah, Michigan's on some FU shit. And this is, it's all tied to the investigation. Okay. So this was my look, I know how Ann Arbor feels about the investigation and where things are trending. And I didn't get to talk about it last week, and I'm not going to get too deep into it right now. But the point is, like, Michigan on their side feels good about things. So I felt that them I don't know if you guys discussed this or not. I didn't catch everything from last week, but the decision for Jim Harbaugh to be captain, or to be honorary captain of this game, was decided in March. So it was already decided. It just wasn't publicly announced. And then when they publicly announced it, it happened to coincide with the recent leaking of the NCAA. And because of that, so initially, to answer your question, John, I was excited. I was amped up. I thought it was a great move by Michigan. I know how they feel about things, as we saw with Sharon Moore's comments today about him looking forward to his text messages being released to the public. Michigan feels good. There's no evidence. They got nothing on us. They got nothing. And they got much of nothing, except a damn cheeseburger receipt. But, so I was amped up about it. But now that they've decided to, Jim Harbaugh says, I'm going to focus on the team, and Sharon Moore said, they're going to honor Jack and Jackie. In my opinion, this is a bit of a PR move, man. This is a bit of they're kind of saving their asses, and just, they're not trying to poke the bear being the NCAA any more than it needs to be poked, because they know the NCAA, we all know this, has a motive. They have an agenda. They're trying to make an example out of Michigan. So Michigan is essentially staying course, minding their P's and Q's, and they're going to try and get through this. And then, once they get it all resolved and settled, they can move on, because we all know at the end of the day, this is all bullshit. And at the end of the day, NCAA has nothing on us. They're not trying to, we saw how, like, with the article we just mentioned earlier, and we're going to talk about some more, I believe, they are looking for anything to get Michigan. So all they need is a reason, so Michigan's deciding to take the position of, let's just play it safe, and we'll just honor Jack and Jackie, which is, I at least do appreciate the counter move to honor Jack, former coach Jack Harbaugh, former honorary head coach. So, I mean, at least they did that. But, at the end of the day, I was a bit disappointed to see that they decided to move in a different direction.
Yeah. Okay. So first, initially, I was more than pumped up. I thought Jim Harbaugh deserves to have the hero's welcome of 105,000 fans in a night game televised on NBC. The ratings would be through the roof on that game, even though they're playing a lesser opponent in Fresno State. Just because of Harbaugh, it would have been a great scene to have that happen. What's going to happen, I guess we have to be practical here. I'm not sure how many Chargers fans there are. They're growing, though, because of Harbaugh. But I would think if I was a Chargers fan, and maybe I will be now in Southern California, they would be like, what is going on? He's going to go like right before the season starts. And, so it's probably not a great look for his current job for him to make that. So yeah, it's a practical choice. He was going to fly coach. He was going to drive down to San Diego because the flights are less expensive. And he was going to eat a Subway sandwich, and then he was going to sit 30 rows back in front of the bathroom. That's a long flight when you're in coach. So when coach is in coach, that's it's a little taxing on somebody who's almost 60 years old, I would think.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know, Ferris flew on the same flight as Coach Jim Harbaugh, so he's quite aware of how Coach travels. And yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It's just a shame. It would have been great to have Jim just come back to Michigan. Have the crowd would have went nuts. I really, yeah, exactly. So there's Ferris
there
with
it
Coach
is.
Jim Harbaugh right there.
You're getting the most out of that picture. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, gotta milk that.
Yeah, so I mean, it just would have been a great scene to have him come back to Ann Arbor, but he'll come back again. I mean, it's not the last. Obviously, it's not the last, and he'll be honorary captain again at some point.
And the reason I bring all this up now, in addition to the breaking news, is that while I was in Target, I got a text from one of you, I think it was TJ, hey, check out this Detroit Free Press article where there's a whole bunch more from The Price, What It Takes to Win. So we learned a bunch of new excerpts from The Price, What It Takes to Win, which I believe is not just about Michigan. It's also about other elite programs. But what we found out, just as a TLDR, if you haven't seen it yet, is that the battle, the PR war, and the internal battle between John Duncan and the NCAA and Harbaugh's lawyer, Tom Mars, was much more heated behind the scenes than we knew. So there was discussions about the burger, the hamburger for breakfast, which you guys can go more into, and whether or not he was there versus not. There was discussion about, if you don't back off, Tom Mars is going to sue the NCAA for what's called tortious interference. And it does seem like that John Duncan and the NCAA, at least based on this read of it from the Detroit Free Press, it looked to me like they were looking for literally anything to try to pin Harbaugh and Michigan to some type of wrongdoing. That's what it looked like to me. And on the other side, Ward Manuel, he really just seemed to have a very whatever attitude about the whole thing. He just wanted to do a deal, cook it and book it. Like literally, okay, let's just get this thing wrapped up and move on with our lives, instead of trying to actually stand up. So it seemed like the only person who was really standing up to these guys was Harbaugh and Tom Mars, Jim Harbaugh's lawyer. So yeah. I'll start with TJ. Like, what was your read on it? Give me some of the things that really stuck out to you from the Free Press article and the excerpts from the book.
Well, the first thing that stuck out to me was how Grant Newsom had a similar situation, and they basically gave Grant Newsom a slap on the wrist, or not even a slap on the wrist, a simple, okay, thank you, and let's keep it moving. Where Jim Harbaugh, they're trying to make an example out of him. Because like I said earlier in our show, like the NCAA has an agenda. There's definitely a motive. And, Tom Mars, it's like, look at the email thing, right? So Tom Mars had 24 hours to go through 6,800 emails. He asked for an extension and they wouldn't allow it. So essentially, they non-compliance is what the NCAA said, which is complete bullshit, because they simply asked for an extension of time to review these emails. So it just goes to show that the NCAA has a bone to pick with Harbaugh. We all knew that. Look at like what happened with what they found last week on $100, like getting a recruit verified on Instagram, or you got a $100 charity check or going to a recruit's charity. Like, these are nothing in the grand scheme of things. Like, the things the NCAA is trying to get on Michigan is just insane. And to your point, John, about Tom Mars and Jim Harbaugh wanting to fight and go to battle. I mean, listen, it was quite obvious that was the case, and we know that, and we know it's been leaked, or Jim Harbaugh has felt that Ward Manuel did not have his back in support of the Regents, against the Regents, because the Regents wanted to go a certain direction, and That's the issue. And that is why Jim Harbaugh felt, and this is also in the book that's going to be coming out at the end of August, it was time to go to the NFL. But at the end of the day, if he had the full backing of the university from regents to athletic director, I don't believe Jim Harbaugh, and I know there's going to be people in the comments, I know there's going to be people watching this, both audio and video, but I believe Harbaugh would still be at Michigan if he had if he had what he wanted in terms of support from the entire university, the full strength of the university, but he didn't. And it's not all regents either. Just so from my understanding, there are some regents who were willing to go to battle. There are other regents who do not want to go to battle. And we've said it here before. Look, Ward has been doing a better job since March, since Dusty May hire, Sharon Moore hire, and a bunch of other things in NIL and A to Z. He's been doing much better. But Ward is a yes man. He does what the regents wants. He does his job, but he doesn't push the envelope. And that's the problem. And Jim needs somebody who to have his back, because Jim is somebody who pushes the envelope, So it is what it is. It's unfortunate to see how it all went down. And the NCAA is still a pain in our ass. I mean, look what we're dealing with. I also am looking forward to Sharon Moore's text messages getting released and seeing what that's all about, because that was a lot about nothing, bro. Because the text messages
release the texts. What's the thing about like release the records or release the texts?
Yeah. Like freaking dude. All right, so the text messages were deleted. They found the text messages. There's nothing in the text messages. So what the hell does it matter? I mean, sure, you may say, well, the act of doing it looks bad. Well, what is the substance of the text? Nothing. There's nothing in them. The NCAA has found nothing from the entire way. I can't wait to see this in this Connor Stallions documentary. Not that it's going to give us all the answers, because I'm sure it's not. But the reality of the situation is, and we're all going to find this out, Buckeyes included, they got nothing on us. There's no evidence tying them to Michigan staff. They got nothing. They're making this big circus out of hatred. Really, that's what it comes down to. If this was another university, it wouldn't be going to this distance.
All right, there's a lot there, lot to unpack. But the first thing I'll say is I was going to do a detailed smash the numbers on Donovan Edwards and Alex Orji, but then this news came out on Sunday, and I thought I should comment on it. I thought I'd go 20 minutes. I ended up going 40 minutes. I went through only half of the article. The part of the art. So first, separate things. There are two different things going on. There's Connor Stallions over here, and then we have the Hamburger Gate over there. Hamburger Gate happened first. And what's new out of that is that Grant Newsome news, that Grant Newsome did something very similar to Jim Harbaugh. He did not recall. Now, when you don't recall something, that does not mean that you're lying. Okay, for example, you put that picture up of me with Jim Harbaugh. I remember that picture. I remember the date. But does Jim Harbaugh remember meeting me, the fact that he was eating a Subway, all that kind of stuff? He probably doesn't. He meets thousands of people, right? So I doubt that he remembers me, in that kind of context. So what ended up happening is, there's a diner. The diner serves breakfast. It's very unclear from what was written whether Jim Harbaugh was actually getting takeout or was he there. It was a little fuzzy, even that part. But a recruit was there. Jim was there. They were talking, whatever. But Jim Harbaugh did not recall that situation. So only later, when they showed receipts to him, which is actually what's done when you are when you're actually investigating in real life, not NCAA, when it's in a court of law with police or whatever, you do show, hey, we have this receipt. Does that help? Does that help with your memory in terms of what happened? And the smoking gun that was here was that Jim Harbaugh ordered a hamburger for breakfast. And he came to his own realization that nobody else orders a hamburger for breakfast. So therefore, it's got to be me. I guess I was there that day. I admit it, so to speak. Now, the NCAA didn't want to just accept that. They wanted to take another step and say, all right, great. Now tell us on record that you were lying.
Yeah.
And that's where Jim Harbaugh said, no, I didn't recall buying and we're talking about a $7 hamburger. We're talking about something that is kind of in between the price of a McDonald's hamburger and a Five Guys hamburger. That's what we're saying. That's what we're talking about here. So,
and remember, there's Lambos in the parking lots. There's Porsches in the parking lots. There's at Baylor, they have shirts that say "We pay players." Hundreds of thousands, or even in Bryce Underwood's case, millions of dollars. And this is what is being attacked: a $7 burger.
Yeah. So that's at a diner named Benny's. If anybody has been to Benny's, let me know. I mean, I looked at some pictures there. I usually go to Zingerman's on the south side, which is a lot cheaper than Zingerman's Deli when I go there. This is Benny's, I believe, is on the south side of Ann Arbor. Okay, the other thing that was interesting to me was the leaks. All right, so I've been very frustrated with the NCAA leaking things. I've been thinking that they've been leaking things. Now I realize that it might be in retaliation for what they think Mars did, Harbaugh's lawyer, Tom Mars, what he did. Now, I don't know for sure that he did, but the NCAA certainly thinks that he was leaking information way back then, a year ago, a year plus ago.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a retaliation for that. So there's all kinds of things going on here. The NCAA wanted Tom Mars, his phone. And I don't know where you can ask for something like that. A lawyer's phone, there is the concept of attorney-client kind of privilege, but this is NCAA. Do they get to do things that are above and beyond what you can do in real life? And can you actually ask for? Is that a fair ask to ask a lawyer for his phone? I mean, that seems like that's going to the line and then going way over the line in terms of what is reasonable to ask for.
Yeah, I mean, look, the NCAA oversteps itself. It doesn't even have, just so you know, coaches don't even have to turn their phones in. They don't. The NCAA has no jurisdiction like to power on any of it. It's just if coaches determine not to turn phones in, then they get non-compliance. That's the issue. There's no legal responsibility from anyone to turn anything into the NCAA. It's just the NCAA is its own governing body, so it can make the rules. But then those rules can be challenged in court, which we see from schools like Tennessee or Texas A&M, and then the NCAA stands down. But in regards to the leaks affairs, okay. For one, the leaks themselves from the NCAA are against NCAA protocol. Nothing is supposed to be released. Any information is not supposed to be released until a notice of allegations has been presented to a university. That has not happened. Secondly, the new set of leaks is a different tactic. It's a PR strategy to try and get the public opinion on their side. But what's funny is, and we've all seen this, a lot of national media, they're laughing at this shit. Paul Feinbaum's laughing at this shit. Brady Quinn's laughing at this shit. A bunch of national media, heads, talking heads I think this is a joke. Colin Cowherd's laughing at this shit. It's just, the reality is the NCAA looks bad. And they're also, I do not think it's a coincidence that the Connor Stallions documentary gets, it's going to be released, end of August, early September or something like that.
27th.
The 27th of August. So they then leak to, of course, Ohio State fanboy Pete Thamel, the NCAA leak. The leak from the draft of the notice of allegations to try and get ahead of the curve. This is a PR tactic. This is chess. This is a form of chess. It's very obvious what's occurring.
Yeah, I agree with the concept that they don't really have anything. So, when the saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. Well, that's not really the case. You can create smoke and there isn't really a fire there. And the NCAA, in my view, really didn't have much. So the way that they can punish Michigan is in the court of public opinion, or at least that's what they tried to do. Right. Mm-hmm. One other thing, because we've been talking Brown Jug and now we're talking Benny's. Yeah. There's two different hamburger places. The Brown Jug, is, at least in the article, was described as the thing that Grant Newsom did in the Brown Jug. Was Harbaugh there or not? I don't know. But in the article, it talks specifically about Grant Newsom, and he didn't recall being there. But then later he was. Okay. Later he said, okay, I guess I was there. after he asked for his lawyer, because they were really, when somebody asks you questions like that about something that happened 18 months ago, do we all remember exactly what we ordered? All that kind of stuff from 18 months ago. And then in terms of being in I think there was a comment about there was an anonymous coach who said Michigan's attitude is to go to the line and then cross it in terms of what's legal and not, right? Well, first of all, Michigan has no way to respond to that because it's a leak.
Right.
We're listening to a leak, so they're supposed to stay quiet. The other thing is, I'd like to ask everyone in this chat. I think in my neighborhood, the speed limit is 35 miles an hour. Where I lived in Northville, I think it was 25 miles an hour. Do any of you go up to 25 miles an hour and then all of a sudden when you don't think there are any cops around, maybe you push that to 30, maybe you push it to 27? Do you go to the line and then just cross it a little bit? Do you think that going 5 miles over is totally okay? Because a lot of people seem to think that if you're a cheater, period. If you go 26 and a 25, you've broken the law. You deserve 4 years.
Reading into this burger thing, that's what that's the same equivocation. That's what they're doing there. But sorry guys, we have a lot of topics. We really got to keep rolling here. And we've got go for it, TJ.
The reality is they're all going 35. It's just some are getting caught and most are not. That's the reality of the situation.
Yep. Absolutely.